Hello, today I just wanted to talk about effective ways to go about making something from start to finish. Um, Maybe someone's giving you a challenge, like, do you think you could model this? Or you see something in your room and you're going, how would I go about modeling something like that? Well, once you've got a good enough foundation of like what tools are available to you in the software, probably Blender if it's with me, then you can use those and with your mental approach pretty much problem solve anything, more or less. Um, but anyway, let's jump into the mental side of this. We're not going to focus too much on any tools. I'm not going to be doing any 3D modeling, but just the mental side. Or at least I'm going to try to. So here we have something that has been made for a game. It's 4 different sections of a wall. There we go. We have this corner section. We have this flat wall section, a larger one of those, and then this inside corner, outside corner, inside corner. Excuse me. And it looks pretty complex. And it might be slightly overwhelming for a beginner user thinking like, "Oh, how would I model something like this?" So, this is for you, and hopefully we can break it down. So there are 3 steps. First step is you want to focus on your large shapes, the main form, the silhouette, low frequency details. Just the things that if you were to stand way back and you were to just sum the shape up really, what is that shape? So at its most basic form, this is probably what the shape would be. Um, so I don't know. That looks about right to me. Anyway, going on. Second thing you want to focus on is your mid-frequency details. So the medium things, the things that push the silhouette a little further. They help define what the shape is. They give it character. They add complexity. But it's these middle things, the things that aren't super necessary if you were to be like super far away from it. But if you're closer to it, you would notice these things. I don't know. I shouldn't leave off on that, but yeah, they're the things that help give it character, right? Enough said. So lastly, are the micro details or the high frequency details, the small stuff, things like these buttons and the little great things inside of here, screws, this thing, this great thing in here, and like tiny things like this and this and this, like all these little details is what I'd be worrying about at the very end. um at least in a mental sense, right? Because I might be working on my pipe section and maybe I haven't finished everything yet, but I get my main pipe shape in, and then I cut in here and pull this out a little bit, and then I'd focus on my tiny things after. Everything is proportionate. And that's really the key of everything, is you're kind of nailing down proportions from a big resolution and going smaller and smaller and smaller. The worst thing you can do is start on your tiny details if everything else is disproportionate. Like, I don't know, maybe you're modeling a car and you start modeling like, I don't know, the sides of the door or something, and then realize, oh, the whole door is not an accurate shape. It's not proportionate. So you've got to take the whole door and change everything, and all those small details could possibly go to waste. You might be making those things again. So it's thinking effectively on like how not to waste time, and really how to just get a better result in the end. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try not to go into like how I would specifically model these things, but this is the kind of thing you want to be thinking about. I will go over just slightly though on this example though. So, for example, I was doing this one wall piece. I'd probably start off with a plane, and then I would make cuts in that plane so then I could move it. So I'd probably make a cut right here, and here. So then I have this face, and I go, okay, now where am I going to use this face? So I could like extrude it back, and if I extrude it, it's going to make these little edges around here, so I'd probably want to delete those. but I'd pull it back, or I could make different cuts here and here, and push that back. And then once those are pushed back, then, you know, I have something that looks like this. And then once that's in, I go, okay, well, I've got my main shape now. I probably also want to grab this, pull this in like that, down, something like that. Getting rid of this. So that would be my main shape. And that's how I'd go about modeling that. So something like that. And then I'd start on my mid details, or maybe I'd want to refine my big detail here. So like this edge right here, I'd probably want to just bevel it slightly, get a nice bevel on, and this is kind of starting into my mid-frequency details. All the proportions are looking right, so then I'm going to go, okay, I'm just going to select this edge and press Ctrl B, and in Blender anyway, and get those edges nice and right here as well. Yeah, those things look good at that point. Then we want to start on the other details. So things like this. How would I start off? I'd probably just grab a cube and pull the edges a little bit to get the right shape. Just a very basic shape. Zoom in a bit. And then I just like add a cut here, add a cut here and here, add a cut here and here, and then I just select this face and push it in with an extrude or something. And then I just leave it at that. Okay, that's good. Let's move on to blocking out more things. I'm not going to get caught up in the buttons and the vent stuff there. I'm just going to focus on just blocking it out and bringing the resolution down further and further. These pipes, I'd want to grab, you know, a cylinder, and using primitive shapes the whole time. Everything starts with primitive shapes. And after I've got these shapes accurately down, it's getting a bit cluttered now. Maybe I'll just delete everything and start new. So here's my first pipe, and then here's my second pipe. Just 2 cylinders. I'm not worried about these extra details yet. I'm just blocking those in and making sure the proportions look good. Next, I'd want to, like, say they kept going. I want to get in this detail right here. So then I'd make a cut, make another cut, and probably, like, I don't know, you cut and you pull and things like that, and you refine that shape some more. And then after those are done, I'd leave it at that stage and just check everything to make sure that everything's at a similar resolution or density, I guess. This thing, you know, I could cut that in. I wouldn't go too complex right now. Like, I wouldn't add these little details right here, but I would get the general shape in. Maybe I would put the cylinders in there. Maybe not. But we are getting closer now to start focusing on the smaller details. So then maybe I would just keep going here. I'd add these little cuts. I'd make sure this... Can't see it after I scribble on it too much. But maybe I would focus on just making sure these looked right. And then within this little cylinder thing here, I'd make sure these looked right, that I had the right edges and things, that it, you know, this little indent here went in right. Now that I'm doing the higher frequency details, I'd model this stuff in, get those lines in, push them in, make like a bolt, and then just duplicate those and put them in there. And I'd start focusing on these buttons and the grate thing here and this section and these tinier pipes over here. I get that looking good. What else? This stuff here. Yeah, and that's really how I'd approach that. And then by that point, I would have got all my shapes right. I'd want to make sure that I have bevels on all my edges, even if it's the tiniest thing. Everything in life has a bevel on it. Every edge is rounded slightly. Even the sharpest of knives, they're rounded. They're not exactly sharp. So if you want to achieve that realistic look, You want to put some level of bevel on that. So anyway, that's how I would go about building that stuff. So I have some other examples. We'll go over those quickly. So we have a car here, and I would first start off with the you know, the silhouette, the low frequency detail. So I'd bring in like a cube, and I'd get that looking right, build in some cylinders and get those. And I'm worrying about the overall proportions right now. I'm just trying to make sure everything looks good. I'm giving myself a frame to work with. Maybe I'd add a loop here and pull this up a little bit. And I'm just kind of getting a general shape. It's going to look really blocky right now. Really like it came from N64 or the PlayStation 1 or something. That's what we want. I don't know if I would worry about the lights yet. I've got the main silhouette. Like, what does the shadow look like? And, you know, I would just focus on those things right now. Then next, I would come in and start adding, like, you know, just refining the shape a little bit more, the mid details now. So we want to get this hubcap in here. We're extruding this back in a little bit. Maybe we're rounding off the tire a tiny bit. We're just pushing those details a little bit more now that we're in the mid frequency. I want to get shapes like this in. I wouldn't worry about the license plate details yet. I would just put like a place for the license plate. I probably want to block in my lights now and maybe refine these shapes a little bit more. Put a door handle in. I definitely want cuts for my windows after I've refined this shape. Like after the outer shape is looking good, then I think, okay, let's put these windows in. Let's just cut them in. Make sure everything lines up right. Just the medium details. We're refining this shape. We're not worried about the tiny, tiny, tiny details, but we want like the overall shape. Adding like the rear view mirrors and stuff. There'd be another one on the side. Adding these little lights. Yeah, that would be the mid details. Lastly, we'd want to focus on the high frequency details. There isn't a whole lot on here that I would classify as high frequency, but there's enough. So things like this, the actual license plate writing and things, we'll model those in. Model stuff like this, maybe this line here, this line, maybe this line right here. This doesn't contribute to the silhouette. That wouldn't be in the mid details, but I'd be thinking about it when I was doing the mid details, like the topology or like, you know, how I would extract it or something from my medium pass. I'd focus on this writing and stuff here, like maybe adding these extra cuts in this to give that the shape it needs. Yeah, like maybe things like the windshield wipers. These little bits here. And then, yeah, like I just push things further and further and further in until it looked right. I just go through everything. Does this look right? Like this light here, we had, like in the mid details, we'd have just a cube. But in this stage, we want to add this cut and push it in a little bit. You see where it's kind of inset in there. That's what we'd want in this stage. So, yep, moving on. Piano. So how to go about doing this first? Well, I just block it in with cubes again. Block it in. And, you know, through all this, you're worried about, like, at least for me, I was always worried about, oh, I'm not doing it right, or I'm going to lose time. I don't want to get it wrong, or don't worry about that. You can refine what you've got. And really, that's a lot of art, is just, you know, you, like, pretty sure Bob Ross or something said something like, you know, you push, or you make work with what you have. Like, does that make sense? You work with what you've got and you push that. So, you know, oops, I'm just kind of drawing all over stuff, but I wouldn't worry about these. I'd put those in just as cubes, but I would not worry about like getting that bevel in and stuff right. Just general angles, very blocky. I make a cube for that. You know, I'd make this. Or honestly, you could probably leave this until the very end and just like duplicate. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can go about doing something. But then, you know, I'd refine these edges and round them off, round this off, round this off. I'd try and figure out how to round this off as well. So we're cutting into that now and getting rid of this 90-degree angle corner there. I'm making a spot for my keys, though I'm not modeling my keys yet. That would be like high frequency. Arguably mid frequency, but compared to everything else on this, there isn't a lot of high frequency stuff. And then once I've refined those shapes, I'd start getting in, you know, putting in these nice curves. I'm just getting finer and finer and finer. Like adding cuts for this, and this, and I'd start modeling my keys now. Adding this like inside like hole thing for that bit. Make sure the wheels looked good. There'd be cylinders at this point, but I'd like make all the cuts for it and really just nail that shape. I'd add these little foot pedals, and you know, you just start big and work your way down. And finally, the house. So first off, I'd start off with cubes. There's one cube. Start off with another cube. It's kind of attached to this one in a funky way. Pull that back. Want to make sure this cube's in here and get these roof shapes in. Here's another cube. Go all the way at the back there as well. Here's another cube, and I'm just like, I'd start off with this cube right here, and then I'd pull something up. By the way, if you are modeling something like a building or an interior or something like that, there's a great add-on that I can share. It's called F-Spy, and it basically like puts a camera up and matches a reference photo so that you're modeling like on top of this at the correct angle. So really useful. But yeah, I'm just modeling these big shapes. I might not even worry about these posts yet. I just want to make sure everything else, like the roof and the walls and everything, were at the right proportions. And this too, like the steps, I'd probably block that in with just like a slope. So after those are in, then I'd want to push it further. So like getting these insets in here, I'd take this in, so then I have this inset in here now. And once those are in, I can focus on my windows and things. Just make cuts for them. Maybe just inset them in a little bit. But I'm not worried about like the window frame itself yet. That's mid-detail stuff. Making cuts for this, pushing it in. All these windows here. All the windows. I'd probably put the posts in now. As cubes, maybe I would add that little width difference, top and the bottom of the pillar there. Yeah, going through and adding all those windows. Yeah, probably putting in the steps now from the slope. And then finally, after all those cuts are made, then I'd want to go in and just you know, with these windows where they're all the same, I would probably make one window and copy that everywhere and just place that in there. So, you know, maybe you wouldn't add all these cuts in separately. Instead, you'd probably just model one window all the way and then just plug it in all these spots. Yeah, then, you know, window frames, door handles, little panel insets, the lights, these drains. What else? Maybe the chair, but even with the chair, you know, you're still going from a big, medium, small to the chair too. So you want to start the chair big, then refine it, then really refine it. Yeah, so that really covers it. But doing things this way really helps to reduce any rework. So this is one side of it as well. You've got to know the tools, and you have to have this mental approach too. Otherwise, you're wasting time. But that works hand in hand with having a knowledge of your library of tools. Like, what ways can you problem solve a specific thing? So, anyway, hopefully that helps you to just start creating anything you want now. You probably won't have. I'm still learning new tools every day, and I've been doing this for a long time. So, just take on a problem, and when you get to a stopping point, ask someone, just, hey, how would you solve this problem? I need this. I've gotten here, and I have no idea how to get this result. I know what I want. I just don't know how to get there. That's the key. And you have that mental side now of knowing what you want at the right steps. So now it's just figuring out how to get there. How do I take a face and push it in? Oh, Google told me to press E to extrude. Whatever. So anyway, I hope this video helps. And just message me if you have any questions or anything. And I look forward to seeing some experiments. So good luck. Have fun.